Patrick Robinson says for $4.99, saw Beetlejuice this weekend. Have to agree with Tom. 6 out of 10. Movie was just okay. And yeah, of course, we heard this on Friday. Tom did an extensive stream on Midnight's Edge After Dark. Very late on Thursday, that Cultured Casino also attended. Now we know that Cultured greatly enjoyed this movie. Tom greatly disenjoyed it. I don't know that that's a word, but that's the most rhyming thing I could.
Basically, the more and more I think about it, the more it pisses me off.
Yeah, and I
it's not worth the effort.
That feeling. I emphasize that feeling. Like I've had that feeling many times. I'm a big fan of
Beetlejuice was the worst streaming show of the year.
Yeah, and that's fair. I don't necessarily agree with that myself. Then a very, very important distinction here. Like Tom, you are a hardcore fan of the original. As we can see, there's another thing we didn't really speak about, and I'll get to that right now.
I can't wait till Script Doctor sees this thing and rips it apart.
Look at the discrepancy between the domestic box office and the international box office. Now, for a comparison, Alien Romulus had twice the international box office as it does the domestic, because Alien is a big brand internationally. Now, this is something that we have spoken about before. As we can see from this international box office, this is, I submit that this is not like any kind of international rejection of this movie, so much as it is Beetlejuice is not a big brand overseas. Beetlejuice is very much so an American thing. Case in point, myself, I knew Big Beetlejuice from the cartoons. That was my first introduction to it. I didn't even know it was a movie until several years later. And when I saw the movie, I actually found it disappointing, because my first introduction to Beetlejuice was the cartoon. That was my frame of reference, and I was never that big a fan of the cartoon, but it was all right. Now, this movie here, on the other hand, keeping in mind, I'm not a huge fan of the original, but I really enjoyed this movie. I had a lot of fun with it, much more than I thought I would have. I thought it was a very cool sequel to the original that I had to rewatch in front of, or just before seeing the original, because for the life of me, I honestly couldn't even remember it. And I think that's a big thing internationally, that the first movie just isn't that known. It's not that much of a thing. So I have no real nostalgia for Beetlejuice. I approach it as something that's there, but that I, for all intents and purposes, rediscovered for the purposes of the retrospective that we did, that Tom deserves most of the credit for. But yeah, I had fun with this movie. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a very respectful sequel. I thought that the characters, everything was very much in line with what they were doing there. So yeah, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a great deal. 6. What did you think about it before we hear from Chato?
I did not enjoy it. The first few minutes of the movie, I hated how flighty and nervous that Lydia was. But I understand this. I'm probably gonna say spoilers, and I understand that she was a drug addict, but she was just so weak-minded dating her manager. And I hated how they dealt with the death of her father. She showed no grief whatsoever. There was, somebody made a joke 10 seconds after she finds out that her father died. So that was probably the biggest thing for me, was how they dealt with the death of him. The granddaughter expressed more grief than Lydia did, or the Catherine. Oh, what is her name? Catherine O'Hara.
The character name?
Yes, the Catherine O'Hara, the actress.
Catherine O'Hara, yeah. Then, she would. Well, I kind of expected that from her based on how she was in Beetlejuice, but, yeah. I mean, that's where it started, and then it just continued through the movie. My dislike for it.
Yeah, and Chato, what did you think?
So there's 2 ways to look at it. One way is just as a plebe going in to watch the movie. The other way is. With the third way is looking at it analytically, and then the third way is kind of from a business perspective. taking the business perspective first, I've always said that premise is more important than any other aspect of a movie. If you can twig someone's imagination that intrigues them enough to come and see the film, all you need to cast it properly and then not trip over your shoelaces. So perfection is not necessary. And that's, from that perspective, I think the movie did quite well. Sure, my biggest complaint is the half-hour intro before anything really starts happening. And then my second one is they did not brainstorm new things they could have done in the underworld, apart from the first film. But that being said, not a ton of people saw the first film. It's a cultural memory more than something the equivalent of Star Wars. So I think most of the people are first timers to Beetlejuice, and in that sense, I think the movie works really well. I mean, there's lots of fun stuff that you're not going to see in any other movie, or have seen in any other movie if you've never been introduced to the Beetlejuice world at all. So from that perspective, I thought it was really successful. And I liked being back there in the world, and I loved the performances of most of the actors.
Yeah, I'm on top of that. I think you're right there, Paul. I think everybody's performance was spectacular.
Yeah.
Overall, I do. Yeah.
And I think Michael did a better job of Beetlejuice now than in the first movie.
Yeah.
He's much more of an accomplished actor, and there was just way more stuff in there than just a funny guy riffing. And the fact I loved the fact that the guy's a misogynist, and that's why the critics hate the movie.
Yeah,
maybe they're just smart and they realize it's a poorly written film. I don't understand what you guys are saying. It's an extremely poorly written film.
But my point is, it's well enough written to maintain the premise.
Yeah,
but with following Beetlejuice, it should not be a good enough film, because I think Beetlejuice in my circle of life, it's iconic. And to have this be the follow-up, I was.
But my point is, most of the people going to see this film never saw the first one.
You think that they went into this movie without watching the first one?
Yep, because not a lot of people saw it.
I disagree with you, Paul. Yes, maybe in the theater-wise, but even people are underselling that. It did about $75 million in the box office. But the thing is, this movie played endlessly on cable, right? Like, that's the reason I know it so well. Is because we happen to have had HBO at the time that this movie came out, and it was on like every other day, and I watched it almost every. I know the first movie by heart, and most of my generation knows this movie. Right, that's my point. Is it's an evergreen film that has stayed around for this long, and
I can see your point.
And here's my problem with the whole streaming part of it. It feels like a streaming series crammed into an hour 45 minute movie. Had it just been a streaming series, I don't think I'd have had as much of a problem. That's the thing, is you're attempting to make a movie sequel to an iconic film, right? It wasn't a film that necessarily was Star Wars or Jaws when it came out, but it has ingrained itself into our culture in so many ways, like especially in the US culture, maybe not so much outside of the US, and I can understand where Andre's coming from. But like, I'm kind of surprised.
Bears that out.
I think a lot of people have been so beaten down by shitty woke films that they're able to accept a shitty film just because it's not overly woke.
And I'll accept that. I don't think it's a shitty film. I think it hits the right beats, and you can enjoy the performances. Jenna Ortega is great.
Jenna Ortega was great. She was the highlight.
I agree with you. I'm not a huge fan of who played the mom as an actress.
Catherine O'Hara.
No. I like her. The
Winona Ryder.
Winona Ryder. I've never been a Winona Ryder fan. So, but that's
that's because of the one time that she pickpocketed you when she was shoplifting at a store.
But I mean, I love Catherine O'Hara. Catherine O'Hara, I have to love because she was the spark that started my professional comedy career.
I guess the part that's bothering me most of this whole thing with our community is that a lot of people who didn't like Ghostbusters Afterlife are giving this movie excuses when this movie is basically, or Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, when this movie is basically Ghostbusters Afterlife and Frozen Empire crammed together.
Yeah,
They
but
are
I
the
like
same
this
premise.
movie better. To tell you the truth, I like this one better than either of those movies.
I did not, better than Afterlife. I felt like Afterlife at least paid a deep respect and homage to the original films.
Yeah.
This, to me, like the way they write off the Maitlands, the way they treat Charles's character, at least the actor wise, there's all sorts of little things in here that just rub me the wrong way.
Yeah, and I can see that.
The movie comes to a dead halt for a musical fucking number in the climax. There's just so much wrong, and let's not even get into the like story elements that are completely baffling.
Did you hear how when they were, because the dance ensemble, they did it to MacArthur's Park by Donna Summer, and they had somebody else singing it. Did you hear how the line an old man playing Chinese checkers, they took out the word Chinese?
No, I didn't.
Oh,
did you notice that? Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, but then they played the
Pete's
Donna
sake.
Summer version in the credits and they kept it in.
Weird.
All good with that, at least. But yeah, anyway, but I see where you're coming from, because this is exactly the kind of point that I made, that Six and Tom, you hold this movie, the original in special reverence. I don't.
That's very true.
And because I didn't grow up with it, and I think that's part of why I actually had a great deal of fun with this movie. Is it the perfect movie? No, I'm not saying it's a perfect movie, but in my book, it did what it had to do. And as someone that basically vaguely knows movie, that knows Beetlejuice from the animated series, and that only recently rewatched the original, and true story, I had to watch it in 2 sittings because I thought it was so boring that it took me a while to actually sit through it. That was like 40. I was like 45 minutes in. When is this thing gonna get going? And then I had to go and do something.
That's how I felt about the reboot.
I know, and I hear that, but that has to do with the reference for the original. Sorry, Paul.
I'm just saying that the movie I don't want anyone to fuck with is Nightmare Before Christmas. That to me is a far superior movie.
Well, don't give Tim Burton sequel ideas for that then. So, yeah.
Paul, how do you feel about the first Beetlejuice? Was that something you hold near and dear? Did you see it?
I really enjoyed it. I really enjoed it, but I don't hold it near and dear at all.
No, you enjoyed it, but it was just another movie.
Yeah, fun, really good.
Exactly.
Tim Burton. Let's dive into his Imaginarium and enjoy what he's come up with. So it's not better than Bigger Fish.
And I would bet that that's the same thing with Culture Casino. You enjoyed the original, but I don't know that you hold it, that you revere it.
And that's why I mentioned Nightmare Before Christmas. I revere Nightmare Before Christmas.
He didn't direct that, though. He just produced it and designed it.
No, I understand. But I put it in as part of his canon.
Yeah, but I don't know if... I mean, I wouldn't put it past Disney to try and pull some shit. But I think as long as Tim Burton has any say or sway over it, they won't. And that's the other thing that bothers me about this, too, is Tim Burton has managed not to do a sequel to any of his films yet until now, other than Batman.
And we know he's not...
But I wouldn't count that one of his movies. Like, we haven't got Edward Scissorhands Returns, or anything like that. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I'm just... That's another thing, was like, should you have even fucked with it after 40 years?
In that,
I mean, the box office is proving me wrong, so I guess there's your answer. So
I had no problem with this resurrection.
Yeah, no, neither did I. And continuing from there, Packing Protons said for $5. Supposedly, Tim Burton said he wouldn't do a part 3, but is there enough for one? Seeing it today, and Cultured, with this kind of box office. Is there any chance that we might be getting Beetlejuice?
Yes, absolutely.
And I would not be opposed to that idea at all.
Well, look, let me jump in and actually answer some of the questions. You probably have the studio that want him to do it. I mean, listen to the network executive down there saying, "Hey, absolutely." No, they do. They'll have enough incentive to do it, provided this thing makes some profit. It's possible it could just fall off a cliff, guys. I mean, let's not count our chickens before they hatch. But at the same time, do we want it? I'm going to say this. Burton has been on record saying this was it. I hope it is, as much as I enjoyed the film, as compared to some others here. I don't want to see a third one. I don't think you can do a third one effectively. I would say that you'd have to get different writers entirely. I wasn't thrilled with some of the elements in this script, especially the thing that Paul was talking about. And Andre, actually, most specifically, it took way too long to get started. Yep. You already had established characters. You just needed to flesh out the new ones.
You already got a third part in this movie, considering they should have left the Monica Bellucci bit for the third film.
Well, I think she can return if you're looking for an ultimate bad guy, and maybe she and Beetlejuice resolve their differences and live happily ever undead or whatnot.
I agree, though, that if you were to do another one, you need a completely different set of writers.
And you're going to have to do it.
Yes,
right
I agree
away.
with Andre.
You're going to have to do it right away. You can't wait. This cannot wait 35 years. I mean, 36 years in this case.
No, if they're doing another one, they need to be shooting that in 1 year from now and releasing it in 2 years from now, and not 1 day later.
Yeah, there's no upside to wait. I still think that there isn't need for one, and if they do decide that there is, they're going to have to prove it to me. Like I said, this one had enough hurdles as it is. Look, Tom's not wrong. There was too much in the film. But, ultimately, this still earned a 7 for me, or 7.5. I'm kind of bouncing back and forth between those two numbers now. But it's what we need at the time. There was no competition for this film. There hasn't been a consistent number of good films in theaters. You've had very inconsistent summer. This summer needed to finish on a high note, and it absolutely did.
Oh, wait till Halloween. This is going to, I think, last till Halloween.
It's going to, because do you know what you have coming in Halloween that you didn't ask for?
No.
Venom 3.
Well, I know this was specifically released this way, so I guarantee you that it's on video on demand by Halloween.
Yeah,
regardless of how it's playing in the box office.
But see, you made a good point, Tom, and I agree with you. The windowing on this was incorrect. They should have opened this on the holiday weekend. And they
because next weekend I don't see it doing all that well. Oh, we lost 6.
Oh, we lost 6. No.
She should be back, hopefully.
All right.
Because I don't really see how this is going to perform so well now, because basically everybody's back at school, so now movies are back to weekend-only box office, let's be real. Oh, she's back. Welcome back. So like Reagan is the only movie I think that's going to have any real play during the week, because as like Andre and Paul were pointing out earlier, I agree, like this is a movie that gets your 50-plus-year-old dad out of the house.
Yeah.
But Beetlejuice could have been that movie. So that's the weird thing, is we're like, is it going to be a replay of with Mission Impossible? Because that's what I kept arguing, even though some people didn't agree with me. I'm like, but look, the numbers are there. The older demographic audience that normally would have filled out something like Mission Impossible and helped it make $1 billion weren't going to that. They were going to see Sound of Freedom instead. I don't know if you're going to have the same thing here or not. If Dad's going to check out a Beetlejuice and he's going to go see, Reagan instead, maybe. Yeah. That might be. And I'm not kidding, because, I mean, frankly, look, here's my biggest disappointment of this film, and I know this may not mean shit to anybody else, but Beetlejuice, the original film, is one of my dad's favorite films, right? Like, that's always a movie that I know, like, he watches, he likes. And I talked to him about this one, and he sounded pretty disappointed too, and his response was basically they should have just left it alone anyway. Because I can tell just by certain elements of this film, he is not going to like it.
It's not Battleship of the Potemkin, Tom.
No, but it's the kind of movie it's one of those comedies that he enjoyed growing up, or when I was growing up, that I remember he actually liked, that I liked too. And I know he liked it a lot. In fact, it was one of the first times I got him to watch a DVD, because he didn't care about him. He's like, whatever. We even had this fancy computer with a big screen and everything, so I could watch DVDs on. And I'm like, come watch a movie. He's like, I don't want to watch any movies. I'm like, well, I got Beetlejuice here. He's like, all right, fine. So like, that was like, that's one of those movies. But like, yeah, I don't know. I'm curious how the audience is going to react to it overall. I've gotten a lot of mixed responses. This you guys have liked it more than any of the other panels I've been on. Like Poor Culture the other night, he was ganged up on by everybody on comics.
Well, remember,
I can
Tom,
tell you right away. Sorry, Six, carry on.
I just wanted to say that, remember, Tom, I sent you that screenshot that Friday night there was 3 screenings in my local AMC that were sold out, and I went to a movie 10:30 showing AM, 10:30 AM. I went to that to see it Friday morning, and there were 17 people in that theater, and they were laughing, and I was literally sitting around thinking, what is wrong with me? Why am I not laughing? Is it because I'm tired? You know, why am I not vibing with this movie?
Because you're a dried up old bitch.
Oh, you're not wrong. But I also wanted to make a comment about getting a third one. When did Tim Burton say that we're not getting a third one? Did he say it before it opened? You know, did he say it a month ago, 6 months ago, 3 days ago? Because he said on one of the red carpet events, somebody asked him about seeing Lydia's mom, and he said, "We'll see."
Meaning, money talks.
Like coming up in another.
Yeah, we'll see how many trucks of cash they drive up to my lawn. I mean, because the people behind the Joker said exactly the same thing about the Joker 2, and then those trucks with cash started appearing. So and then that tune changed rather quickly.
The studio does not have to hire Burton to do it. I mean, the guys from Rings of Power will be out of work. They might as well, hire them because they're talents.
And you know what? I'm sure that Tim Burton likes having a commercial hit. It's been a while since he's had one of those.
Yeah,
and if he agrees to do a Beetlejuice, you know what that's going to mean for him? It's going to be another commercial hit. If he does literally anything else, then the chance of it becoming a commercial hit, that's a gamble, looking at his recent track record, recent being the past 20 years. So if he wants to end his career on a high note, he'd do a third one.
Yeah, but I don't know, like, considering how long it took to get this one into production. Oh, we lost Six again. I wonder if she's...
Yeah, she was having technical issues.
But, okay. Yeah, she's getting roboting.
Well, here's like the thing. Yeah, it took a long time, but there are many reasons why it took so long that time. Not the least of which was both the star and director of the movie was busy doing Batman when it had the momentum going for getting another one. Right now, Tim Burton isn't busy doing anything else. Michael Keaton isn't busy doing anything else.
Well, you're also ignoring that the original version of this script sat in limbo for 11 years. We got to remember that too.
Absolutely, but it sat in limbo because there hadn't been a movie since 1998. What changes everything is that we are now in September of 2024, and Beetlejuice just had $100 million plus opening weekend. That is the kind of thing that actually can speed up process pretty quickly, regardless of how long it took before. Like, all of that is ancient history now. Now, if Zaslav decides, I want a new Beetlejuice and I want it in 2 years, he's going to get it. So it's very much up to what does Zaslav want to do. If he wants to do another one, they're going to find a way to do another one. If he's like, yeah, I don't know, then who the hell knows. But with these kind of numbers, we'll see how it holds up next week. But I think that there's going to be a will in Warner to do a third one if these numbers carry on. And they may not, because this is what I was about to say. What we are seeing here, like whenever you have like the Hollywood trade, say it has had a mixed reception. No, it didn't have. If it's Star Wars something, it didn't have a mixed reception. The audience hated it. In this case, what we are seeing is a genuine mixed reception between the people that really genuinely don't like this movie for whatever reason, and those that really do like it. Now, who is going to come out on top there? I really cannot say. I don't think that anyone can until we see how it holds up next weekend. I thought that this movie was actually going to, like Tom and I, we spoke about this over the weekend, and I thought that the response was going to be negative enough that bad word of mouth was going to spread, and that by the end of this weekend, it would open to less than 100 million. And it didn't. It made it to 110. That tells me that the number of people that find enjoy in this movie may be bigger than those that take great offense by it. But we don't know exactly the numbers.
Well, I already knew the movie was going to open
weekend.
Big, right? Like, I'm not as surprised as everybody else.
Yeah, that's the true story. Next weekend, that's when we'll really know. Like, for instance, if this movie come and has a 60% drop or 65% drop next weekend, that's all she wrote for a sequel. But if it has a drop to between 50 and 55%, they're going to start thinking about, okay, how many trucks of money can we drive to Tim Burton and Michael Keaton and have this still make sense for us?
This clip was taken from Midnight's Edge in the Morning, which streams live every Monday, Wednesday and Friday at 9 AM Pacific Time on the Midnight's Edge main channel. There you can send in your live questions and comments before clips and full stream replays are uploaded to Midnight's Edge live archives. We are also on Twitter, Rumble, Odyssey and Facebook, so smash that like, help share, subscribe and join us.